France at the moment is next level nuts. Like, it's crazy. And I know France is known for protesting, and the French are very proud of the fact that they riot and fight against their government and police on the streets on occasions. They're very proud of this history. But what we're seeing right now in Europe, if someone didn't tell me that this was Europe or France and they sent me this footage, I would think it's some sort of third world country and there's a war going on. Like, the amount of looting, the destruction of buildings, the burning of libraries, as apparently zoos being broken into and animals being let loose, weapons being carried on the street, the clashes between the public and the police with this kind of police with these next level military vehicles clashing with the public, buses being hijacked, tourists and stuff being put in dangerous situations. I mean, this here looks like someplace in Ukraine right now with missiles dropping on it, uh, like these fires. I'm just gonna like play these videos. I don't need to explain them too much to show you how crazy it looks. Like this guy here carrying this weapon. It's a belt. It's got belt-fed ammunition, and there's so many videos and footage of people with weapons on the street in France right now, just firing into the air. Right? It's just intense that this is what has come to in France. Uh, Here we got a Holocaust memorial being desecrated. It's just like you don't expect to see this in Europe to this extent that you're seeing it. We have protests everywhere. We've seen protests over the last couple of years intensify for all sorts types of reasons against the government. But this particular protest where these buses are being burnt, people are fighting against each other like vigilantes, and people protecting businesses on their buildings are fighting each other. Shopping malls being overrun, being burnt down, like so much looting of designer goods and designer stores. Just look at this destruction, like it's next level. And this has all the hallmarks to me of what we saw in 2020 with the Summer of Love in the United States of America, the mostly peaceful protests and gatherings that we saw in America in response to the death of George Floyd. Now, that went crazy as well, of course, and a lot of people turned a blind eye to it, even though there was almost, I think, $7 billion worth of damage, so many criminal activities that took place, even deaths that resulted from the protests. The Summer of Love in America has, of course, now switched over to the Summer of Love here in the City of Love, Paris, in France, where it's just gotten crazy. And look, there's similarities there because this is, in a way, being justified because it's a response to the murder of Algerian Moroccan teenager who was fatally shot by the police during a police stop. Now, there was video of this. This was circulated online. It got people really worked up and they hit the streets to protest. Now, those protests have, of course, turned into these violent style riots and looting, which you can't always marry the two together, right? There is a need sometimes to protest. There's a need for social justice sometimes. But when these events or issues get hijacked and it becomes something totally different, it becomes something which is unbecoming of civilized societies, then it needs to be called out, right? This is not just a standard protest. And again, we're seeing in the media, particularly in Western media, even though that they're highlighting these incidents are taking place, there is a bit of empathy there with the protests and the actions of the protesters, right? If you pay attention to the media right now, there is this feeling of almost that kind of solidarity, and you might see these protests popping up elsewhere as well. And it's got that same kind of social justice vibe about it from the Summer of Love. So, as crazy as all of this looks, it's interesting that many countries and many people, many media organizations and many people on social media are trying to justify a lot of these actions. Okay? They're trying to justify these actions. And some people are even claiming that this is some sort of attack against globalists and Macron is being taken down and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that's happening here at all. And I know in France there's been protests like that in the past. This is not that. This is just people that aren't even patriotic to the extent of protecting businesses and livelihoods of people in their country who are looting these stores and burning these buildings and putting people in danger over and over in the name of justice. Like this, there's another level of anger or another level of riotous style protest behavior that leads to people hijacking fire trucks, hijacking police vehicles, hijacking buses with tourists in them, or breaking into zoos and letting animals out onto the street. Like that is uncivilized behavior that is not common to these type of places. Now, I know Macron, this guy here, Macron, who is, he is a useless leader and he deserves all the criticism that he gets. Despite what Macron says about this incident, he has gone on the attack against social media at this very moment, saying that this is all the fault of TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram and these kind of apps that are leading, and video games as well, that are leading kids to go out there and copy these actions and create this violence and havoc in the streets of Paris. But I feel like these Western leaders, people like Macron, and you can find these leaders in many other countries around the West, aren't really narrowing down onto the issues and the social unrest which is creating these issues, right? They don't want to talk about it. They would rather blame video games. They would rather blame TikTok or Facebook and social media for these type of problems, when actually the issues might be more obvious than that, right? So we know in France, for instance, one of the arguments regarding this, the reason that people are behaving in this manner. I'm not talking about the killing, the unjustified killing, perhaps of this young boy. I'm not touching on that fact. I'm saying the behavior of these protests. Some people relate that to the mass immigration policies of France, where all types of people are just coming across the border, and you're seeing now these similar groups of individuals on the streets with particular weapons. The manner in which they're behaving and looting and burning things is not really common, and it's just become trend right now. But having said that, we saw that in America as well. So there's a whole range of issues that are going on, and a lot of these politicians don't want to touch on the actual need to call out this particular style of protesting, rioting, and violence. And the fact that they don't do this, I feel like we're going to see more and more of these type of riots and protests. And at the end of the day, even with the deployment of law enforcement and the cracking down on this type of thing, if all you're going to do as a society is just rebuild these buildings, not address the issues and not address the problems that maybe lack of integration or lack of harmony within the communities creates, you're going to see more and more of this. It's just going to be a cycle. But yeah, look, there's a lot more to come out of France, a lot more to come out of the city of love, the city of riots, Paris. I think we're just seeing the early stages of somewhat of a very interesting debate that's going to happen in that country around this issue. Not too dissimilar, again, to I think what we saw with George Floyd in the United States of America. And over the next couple of days, it'll be interesting to see how the media actually covers this. And let's see if they excuse this behavior, or let's see if they actually properly condemn this atrocious behavior by what I would say are really people who have no sense of moral duty or patriotism to their country in terms of protecting individuals and businesses. It's one thing to be angry at the police and the government, but it's another thing to actually destroy private property and put people in danger through these acts of violence. Anyway, guys, that's my video for today. If you enjoy my content, you can follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Rumble, Odyssey, and Twitter at The Real Rukshan, or just look up my name, Rukshan Fernando. See you next time.